Woo-hoo! We made it. We made the light. Oh man, I got so much to talk about. It's been a couple of days, with Christmas and everything, but I got lots of notes here. Hope you guys have enjoyed the last couple of videos, giving you lots to think about, lots to talk about. I guess we'll start back and forward. Man, I don't know. We'll see if we can cover all of this in this one drive home. But there was a story about a couple of folks who, they went out to eat and they left bad reviews, because of the restaurant's lack of mask enforcement and vaccine, like checking the vaccination passport enforcement here in the U.S. and that's just really, really scary in the sense of the social credit system, which is not going to be a good thing. Black Mirror's already called that out. Black Mirror's already shown what that could look like. I can't imagine. And just given how bad human nature is and spiteful and just mean to each other. You can't force benevolence. And this is certainly not going to help. It's going to use and make the citizens turn against each other. It's basically how the technocrats and the people in power are going to keep us divided. It's what they're going to do to keep us cautious of each other in a lot of ways. It's what they're going to do to, defund the police. I'm telling you, that's not a mistake. They don't point out and focus on the bad cops simply because it makes news stories. They make it into a news story because it was probably a false flag to begin with. And then they can defund the police and make it trend on Twitter and make it trend and turn it into something more than it is. And so then when we descend a little bit more into chaos and anarchy and people have a call to arms or a call to order, the answer will be the social credit system. Simply rate someone enough negative ratings of somebody in such a manner, and then they're unable to access certain things, and then society, there will be no need for law enforcement. There will just be a robot that comes and picks them up and takes them away. The prison industrial complex wins. Again, lock them up in a cage, right? Remember the AI that we talked about when it was, it was one of those like CNET articles or The Verge or one of those techie magazine articles from a couple of years ago when they let an AI have access to everything. It wasn't like an unshackled AI, but it was basically like the early version of Alexa. And they were like, now that you know all this stuff about humanity from like Facebook and the internet, and, what would you do to keep humans happy? And it's like, well, I'd lock them in a, I'd put them in a box and inject them with heroin. So basically we're just going to keep them in prison and make life decent enough I mean, I'm listening to a podcast right now about, it's a little bit of a historical podcast around the 1919 era. People who had to like walk to the factory with boots, sneakers, because they can't even afford work boots for the factory. Sneakers wrapped in newspaper. Rats in their house. It's just people even in prison have better conditions than we had in the past. And it says it's a big testament to our society, but at the same time, I mean, when the bar is set so high, and the bar, the perceived bar being low is that, we're doomed if times really get tough and times really get rough, because there'll be a lot of pain and suffering. Because there's going to be a lot of people who can't toughen up. They can't stiffen up that upper lip. They can't suck it up. And I mean, I'm not trying to be mightier than thou, and I'm definitely not trying to preach from my soapbox or anything like that. I mean, while I enjoy camping in the woods, and I enjoy having a physical job, and I enjoy the discomfort of working out, that whole idea, I definitely also enjoy being able to take a shower after a day or two, and having it be hot water, and having it be clean hot water. So I like being able to brush my teeth. So if things really got bad, yeah, a lot of people would just be, it'd be rough. But we've talked about that. There's plenty of people who talk about that on the YouTubes and on the interwebs. So there's not much to delve into there. We can wax philosophical about that later. I wanted to kind of touch back on the 90% rule that I kind of, my 90% philosophy of like, as long as we get to 90%, if we're trying to accomplish something new habit, as long as we can get ourselves 90% of the way, the last 10% is hard, really, really hard. It's really difficult, and it's a big hill to overcome. Like if you're like I was, where you're 80 to 100 pounds overweight, going from losing the 80 pounds was hard, and it took a few years to do it the right way, and it was hard to keep that muscle mass without looking completely rail thin, because that's a whole nother video. I dedicated a whole webpage, a whole blog before like all of this was a thing, if y'all remember Hub Pages. I mean, I've had a whole website about that. So when I wanted, after a few years, when I was like, okay, I want to see if I could be like stage ready or lean, I wanted to get down in the single digit body fat percent. I wanted to get striations in my muscles. And so like I knew that I made it when I could see striations in my shoulder muscles. And striations, for those of you who don't know, that's when you can actually like see the fibers of the muscle through your skin, because you're just like that lean. I mean, that's like, it takes, you can't just be skinny. You have to be physical and work out those muscles to get to that point. That's the last 10%. Going from 15 or 12% body fat to 9%, 8%, 7% body fat, that's the last 10%. That's hard. That's very hard. That's mental almost. So the 90% around this whole outbreak, and you guys know what I'm talking about. I've been listening to other other commenters and other stream of consciousness folks and other people who actually are bringing us the news that you're not finding on the mainstream media. And it seems that with everything being censored the way it's being censored, this is the way to go. So you guys know what I'm talking about. This is a current event. If you look at the date of this video, you know what outbreak I'm talking about and the many variations of it. And this push to get everybody inoculated is the first 90%. They are trying to get 90% of the world, maybe the world, to that point, and then the last 10% they can just come in with force. The last 10% is when it's going to get hard for TPTB, the powers that be. And that's why we see countries like Israel and Australia and Germany and Canada, places where the knee has been bent long ago to those who have, you guys know all that stuff. If you don't know, then, we're talking nuance here. So there's not much to go into detail there. If you don't know, you don't know. But if you're here, you know. I hope. And they're going to come in, and that's why Australia fell. Because there isn't going to be a nationwide gun battle. There's not going to be holdouts in the country. Once things get to about the 70 to 80%, 85% mark of inoculated here in the U.S., then that's when we're going to start to see the cities fall. The big cities. And I don't mean fall like things are going to go to heck in a handbasket. What I mean is the cities are going to be the epicenter of the ushering in of the rules, because what the cities do, the country must follow. The rural populations must follow, because, and it's going to get bad too with truck drivers in Canada, doing what they're doing, and Canada is making it so that truck drivers are going to have the inoculation in order to go cross-border and ship their goods. And 1/3 of truck drivers are adamantly against it. I'm sure there's 2/3 that don't want to do it, but that's their livelihood. And if they're like most people, living paycheck to paycheck, going back to, there's 3 things that motivate people: money, I can't do it off the top of my head, money, fear, and hunger, right? So if there's no money, if they're not going to be able to get their paycheck without getting the inoculation, then they're going to go hungry, and then they're going to fear for their family's well-being. So it all cascades. Just like if they can get to the 70 to 85% mark here in the U.S., everything will in the cities start and cascade out from there. And then that's when there will be holdouts, and the government will, that's when we're going to have, it was not Mockingbird, it wasn't Northwoods, but it's going to be any of those governmental raids on bunkers and holdouts. And I'm not talking cult leader type stuff, but it's going to be made out to be like that in the news for sure. Because right now, they're selling us the lie of compliance. In order to get to that 90%, they're trying to make that 90% easy on them as possible. The numbers are, I don't know what the numbers are. They're going to tell you it's this. It's probably it's definitely far less than what they're telling you as far as who's gotten in line. A lot of people have definitely done it because they've been coerced to, because they've been peer pressured into it by family or friends, coerced to by their jobs, threatened by their jobs, threatened by their governors with fines, with monetary fines. I mean, there was a precedent set, and it can be done through the Supreme Court. It's like fine to set a monetary, it's okay through Supreme Court ruling to set a monetary fine, if you choose not to get inoculated. But here's the deal. I am so confused as to why we're trying to change something that isn't broken. If this was, first of all, if this was a smallpox outbreak, if this was bodies in the street, bad, like those videos from the beginning, y'all remember those? People just falling over, obviously staged videos. If it was like that, and there were mass graves, you remember they were digging mass graves in places, thinking that this was going to be bad, and it was all to sell fear and to tee this up, and they are trying to sell you the illusion of compliance, trying to make it seem like everyone's doing it. But if you're not someone who watches the mainstream media like me and a lot of the other people that I work around, and just maybe a normal human who works 50 plus hours a week to provide for themselves and their family, then your day-to-day experience is really not encapsulated in all that. The people that you're around don't really care, and you've been going to work, and you've been doing the things that you need to do for yourself, and basically, if you're seeing what I'm seeing, which isn't a lot, I'm not on the front lines. I'm not, I don't work at a hospital. My mom was a nurse growing up, but she's retired now, so she's not on the front lines like she used to be. So I don't know. I mean, I have family and friends who no longer are in the field because they choose not to get inoculated. But why are we trying to fix something that's not broken, right? Let me circle back to that. If this was bodies in the street, people are just it's, smallpox bad, plague virus bad, maybe I think we would all take a gamble. A lot of people anyway would be I'm gonna take a gamble, and I'm gonna get the inoculation. This is bad. People are dying. I don't want to leave because I can't leave because it's bad out there. And even with the climate that it is now, I still would probably more strongly consider it if this was an attenuated virus vaccine, if this was a dead virus inoculation, if this was something that has been tried and tested centuries. I mean, you can do research on this stuff, and you can find as far back as China, they would when the smallpox virus hit back in the day, and the troops in the Revolutionary War, George Washington implemented a mandate for his troops. But this makes sense. So the Chinese, they would scrape the smallpox, sore, wound, whatever, and get the skin cells, and then they'd breathe it into somebody who's healthy and doesn't have it yet as a way to strengthen the immune system against it. The logic follows: if you expose somebody to a weakened version of it, then there's a very good chance that their body will fight it and overcome. And in the Revolutionary War, for the soldiers, they would take scrapings from the very sick soldiers and inject it with a solution. They'd inject it into the healthy soldiers because George Washington had the foresight, knowing that smallpox would be much more deadly to the troops than the British. Right? So, if this was some kind of tried and tested technology that dates back to the Revolutionary War, I'd be more willing to get it. Sorry. I did actually get the first one, the P shot. And I really haven't been the same since. I mean, I've definitely put on a little weight working on my dad bod, my father figure. But I'm not, out of shape. I can still go and do the stair climber. I can still go and do my shoulder exercises. I still run hills. But, man, I am much more easily winded nowadays than I used to be. And I don't know why that is. It worries me. And it all kind of happened after I got the first one. So I didn't go for the second one. I mean, can you blame me? I am just so flabbergasted that, my wife got it when she was in her second trimester. And, we'll see over time. We got a healthy boy, healthy baby. Things are going good in that regard. But the things that you guys can do right now to stand against this is to vote with your dollar. Vote with your dollar. Vote with your tax money, where you spend your money. And move to places and support your candidates. I mean, these midterms are going to be pretty important. I'm not normally big on politics, but I'm probably going to do a little bit more research, coming up for 2022 into the candidates that are opposed to this, because we want, at least I want my governor to be someone who's going to keep this stuff at bay and isn't going to see dollar signs because of fines. Because, let's be honest, how many people are, it's probably got to be a lot of money for people who are willing to pay a fine. And it'll be a lot of tax revenue, I imagine. But once you move, definitely support local businesses. To wrap this up in a bow tie, to wrap this up and put a little tie, a little decoration on the top of the present. Move somewhere if you can, and I know that's not possible for everybody. If you can't move, in both cases, whether you move or not, support businesses, local businesses, or chains that aren't doing it. It doesn't matter. Support businesses that aren't enforcing this tyranny. And that is how you vote with your dollar. Because money and greed, this world doesn't care about what race, what what religion, it doesn't care where you grew up. It doesn't care who you pray to. It doesn't care how you identify. If you want to be whatever. And I'm fine with that. It does not care about any of that. So what makes things happen in this world, and especially in this country. So get out there and vote with your dollar and support places that don't enforce the tyranny. And if you do have the unfortunate circumstance of living in a place where these mandates, especially these like vaccine passports, are a thing, then what I think y'all like need to do is like find the places that are lax. Eventually, and hopefully it won't happen, eventually though, they'll be the ones who went out with cash money, if that can be, if you like, that's why they want us to go cashless, because then they can't just like shut down that business from far away. They can make revenue in cash. So like support as best you can places that aren't enforcing the tyranny. If there is a tyrannical implement in place in the city that you live in, and then start the black market economy. You're gonna have to do that. I have ideas on what we should do. There will be people who, for whatever reason, will get it and they'll get the inoculation, but they'll be sympathetic to people who don't want to get it. And there's going to be a huge market and a huge benefit to the people who are sympathetic to seeing this tyranny end, but for whatever reason have comorbidities or have elderly grandparents or parents that they visit and want to protect, for whatever reason that they get it, they'll be the ones who can go to the grocery store for you and your community, and what your community can provide to them is going to be, is going to be a currency of some form, right? You want to provide them a currency because there will be still jobs and careers and things that you can do to earn a living. It will be hard, but there will be a whole new divergent, I remember my divergent hypothesis, there's going to be a divergent society that springs out of this. And we'll see what happens from there. I'm not too sure what'll happen, but what we do know will happen is that there will be people who fight and stand, and that there are a majority of us who aren't speaking up, but who are supporting the right thing here. And for many of us, a lot of it is just holding out for the data, for the data. Many of us know that there's not a lot, and many of us are uncomfortable with how forceful this has all been and how sudden. And so a lot of us want just more time. And let's hope that is the case. Let's hope that we get that time and that things don't happen again, in the sense of we were primed for something more, like a smallpox outbreak. Because, like I was just saying, if there was a smallpox outbreak, if there was an outbreak of something, and something that hasn't, like smallpox or the plague or polio or whatever, well, now we're going to definitely have a much higher mortality rate, and they're probably gonna want to be like, oh yeah, like we obviously, like, we can make the inoculation for this, but it's gonna be mRNA. It's gonna be the newfangled version of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what's up with that? And then there will be bodies in the street, and there will be societal breakdown, and there will be the dust settling, and it will be just whoever can make it through to the other side of the dust. And that's what scares me the most. So let me know what y'all think. Please like, subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, and it helps get the word out, and it helps if you agree with me, or if you think that what I say needs to be heard. It helps get the word around. Please share this video as well. I do think that there are a silent majority of people out there who feel this way and are sympathetic to wanting to see the right thing happen. So like, subscribe, let me know in the comments below what you think, if I'm off base, if I'm on track, if there's any specific subject that I've touched on or talked about that you want to hear more about. Let me know. Until next time, friends, bye.